It's 6:30 p.m. and I just finished walking my dog, so now it's time to start my pottery. Last week I got a new wheel. I got the Shimpo VL Whisper. It's a dramatic improvement from my old wheel, which was a Vivor wheel from Amazon. It's a lot bigger, it has way more space for my tools, and then obviously it just runs a lot smoother. The Vivor wheel can't go slowly for some reason. The only options is to go pretty fast and then extremely fast. The Shimpo, you can actually really slow down, which I really appreciate. So I pretty much just waited all day at work to get home and start throwing pottery. This is my little setup. I basically just took over a corner of our living room and put my wheel here. And then behind me are the buckets where I put the dirty water and also my clay that I'm going to eventually reclaim. And then this bucket has my fresh clay, and then this is my tool bag. It makes it a lot easier to go back and forth from the studio and just have all my things like lined up like this. I think for today, I really want to focus on finishing up these jars that I made. I made 2 of them. They're these little like chubby jars. They were supposed to be mugs, but then I never really got the height on them correct. So I already trimmed the bottom of them. I just need to kind of like touch them up, smooth them out. And then I also threw lids. This is my first time making a jar that has like a lid thrown separately. I've thrown closed ones before and I really have liked doing that just because I know that the lid will definitely fit. Here's one lid that I threw like 3 or 4 days ago. And then here's the other one. Obviously this one is much thinner than this one. I think I'm going to start with throwing the thinner one first because it seems less daunting. I'm stopping because I just realized I should probably use lugs so this doesn't go flying across the room. So I'm just trying to trim this to be a little bit thinner and then also the walls to be a little bit thinner so that they'll actually fit into the jar. Oh, it fits. Okay, cool. I'm gonna just now smooth it out since I know it fits. I feel like I'm a big sucker for buying a bunch of tools even though I'm a total beginner and I don't really know how to use them. Like this is a finishing sponge, which this is pretty straightforward. I mean, you just use it at the end to smooth everything out. But I still feel like I don't really know how to use ribs, especially silicone ribs. I know you're supposed to bend them and you can use it to shape or to smooth things out. But I just feel like my mind still hasn't really wrapped around how ribs work. Okay, I'm gonna flip it or put it onto the jar now. So this is the scary part of trying to figure out how to remove it. Oh my god, it's kind of suctioned on. Wow, that is stuck on there. Oh my god. Oh, thank god. Okay, now I just need to center this jar and then I can trim away all of this excess here. The rim is a little bit bent out of shape. As you can see, it's a little bit irregular. So I'm having a little bit of a hard time figuring out where center is. Tap centering is one of those things where I see the professionals on TikTok or YouTube Shorts doing it, and I feel like it looks so simple and I could definitely do that, and then I try it and I'm like, I actually have no idea what the hell I'm doing, but I would like to learn. It would be nice to learn. Oh my god, this thing is not secure. I think it's centered. Not positive. We will see. Okay, let's start carving. That's funny. I think the person next to me was using red clay, and I think some of the red clay got into my white. Obviously, there's like little gaps in between the lid and the jar. But for my first lid, I'm not unhappy with this. I'm just gonna go ahead and smooth it down again with the silicone rib that I barely know how to use. I heard that the red rib is the best to smooth things down because that one's like extra soft, but it was out of stock, I think, on Blick for a long time. I used to be kind of obsessed with getting things like done. I wanted to have them like literally from the wheel to my cabinet within, I don't know, like 2 weeks. So I would kind of skip over like the whole like touching up and finalizing the pieces. So instead of like taking the time to smooth things out or try to add little handles or whatever, I would skip right to bisque firing it. And then I would get back these like really rough pieces that were like kind of uncomfortable to hold. So now I'm trying to actually spend the time to smooth things out, like little nail marks or finger marks or whatever. I especially try to smooth out rims. There was a time where I didn't really think about rims too much, and I had like super wide, super square rims that were also like uneven and sharp in some spots, and I was trying to use those as drinking cups or like cups to drink out of, and that is not a pleasant experience at all. And it was only until I watched like a TikTok video of someone like explaining how to shape a rim that I understood like, oh, I have to actually take the time to shape out a rim when I'm throwing, and to also take the time to, you know, sponge it down and smooth it out. And the foot, like sometimes on the wheel it'll get these little marks, or in the studio there'll be a lot of like pottery dust from like red clay or gray clay, and then it'll get all over my foot, and I would think like it's fine, like I'm sure like it'll go away. But I don't know why I thought that, because obviously it's just gonna get fused together, and then it just kind of looks, I don't know, like dirty. So now I really try to make sure that my feet are nice and clean. So this is pretty smooth. I mean, I know there's some spots that look a little lumpy, but I'm sure the glaze will take care of that. And then this is the lid. Obviously the edges and stuff need to be, I think, sponged down, touched up a little bit, but I'm gonna let it sit for a little bit. So I'm gonna move on to the next jar. Here's the lid. And from what I learned last time, I'm not gonna use any suction. I'm just gonna put lugs down once I feel like it's centered. So I think that's pretty dead center actually already. Whenever I put lugs down, I always like to do a little wiggle test to see if it moves. Because I feel like if it moves even a little bit, then it's definitely going to go flying once you start the trimming process. So gotta avoid that at all costs. Let's see if it fits. It does not fit. So let me make this thinner. Another test. Still does not fit. That is not good because it's getting very thin. It is paper thin. It's kind of cracked, which I think is to be expected because it's so thin. But I'm kind of optimistic that maybe I can still carve a rim in. Let me see. First we'll level it out. Okay. Let's see. I don't know. I definitely should have measured. So the problem is that this is too small, so it doesn't sit in the jug or the jar tightly, and it's impossible to trim. This is gonna just be a cup or a bowl. I really want to start making the handle for the jar already so I can have one finished thing, but I really think I should let the lid dry a little bit more so I can smooth everything out. So instead, I think I'm going to trim this donut plate bowl thing that I made recently. And then I also made this little cup thing. It's very bottom heavy, so I think it'll be a fun thing to trim. This is my first donut that I've ever attempted / made. And I actually think it turned out pretty good, but the base is definitely super heavy and a lot can be trimmed away. I fear my back is already starting to hurt. I always make my pieces extremely bottom heavy, so I feel like I don't get to see the actual true beauty in my piece until I've trimmed. Unfortunately, a tragedy has occurred. I was just thinking about how I can probably throw a lid today and just make it, you know, account for the 15% shrinkage rate and try to make this into a jar too, so I can have two matching twin jars because it's always cuter to have two. And then I wasn't really looking where my leg was going, and I hit the bat that was holding this and it fell to the ground and cracked. Basically, I think this really didn't want to become a jar, and when it realized that I was plotting on making it into a jar, it just took itself out. So I don't know how to break this. Oh, I know to a really experienced person, this is probably shit, but for me, as a total beginner, I'm kind of pleased with this. I still have a pretty good width here. I just need to focus on pulling this part up, obviously. So into the bucket of shame.
I'll start doing this fiasco.
Oh, sorry. Sure.
So white, red.
It is now 9:14. I've reached the point where I can't really be verbal anymore. I can barely talk, and I'm a little bit tired. But I still want to have something thrown, and I definitely want to attach a handle to the jar because I feel like things in my apartment dry pretty quickly. So if I don't attach a handle, the lid will just become way too dry. So I think tonight is basically my last chance. I think something like this could be pretty cute. Maybe the handle needs to be a little bit lower. Yeah, that looks better. Now I'm gonna just take my needle tool and kind of mark around where I'm planning on putting the handle so I can figure out where I want to score. I actually bought this scoring tool and I always forget to use it because I get lazy and just use my needle instead, but just grabbed some slip from my reclaim bucket and just gonna put it on like that. Then we just stick it on. I'm gonna finish up with my trimming. This is the last thing I need to do, and I don't think it should take too long. And I really want to get it all over with, so I definitely have to fix the rim because it got messed up. So yeah, this is my last piece that I had to trim. And I think it's almost 10 o'clock now. Against my better judgment, I've decided to throw one thing. I'm thinking it's gonna either be a cup or a bowl. We will see what the clay thinks. So I'm just cleaning off my wedging board right now. I'm planning on building a wedging table, like a windowsill wedging table, and I probably will film a video about it. But in the meantime, I'm just using this wedging board that I got online. I think it's from Penguin Pottery, if I'm remembering that right. It is kind of small, very lightweight, so it bounces around. So what I usually have to do is kneel here and then wedge the clay over here. I think I'm going to try to make a cylinder as tall as possible and add this little decorative technique that I saw on TikTok. There's a guy on TikTok who's insanely talented. He's able to center like 12 pounds of clay super easily, and he makes these ginormous planters. And he does it so perfectly, and then he adds these little like decorative touches to it. And he doesn't measure or anything, he just goes for it, and it always turns out beautiful. He says that he just follows the rhythm in order to get even spacing. This clay is usually very soft, but this particular piece of clay is pretty dried out. I'm trying to leave a bit of thickness right here so I can do the design that I saw the person on TikTok do. We're kind of getting a wobble, so I'm gonna stop. I don't know when I'm ever going to learn how to pull up all my clay and not leave this skirt. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna cut it away. And then I think I'm finally finished. So this is it, almost complete. And basically what I saw that person do was use this little fat part here and then used his knuckle and just went into that chubby part and created this like swirl design. He said that the key is to have rhythm, but when you're scared, it's kind of hard to have rhythm. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, that looks horrible. That looks absolutely nothing like what I was going for. I am running only on 5 hours of sleep right now. So, okay, I don't think it's gonna get any better than that. Well, at least I tried something new. Now it's the glorious time and my least favorite time, which is cleaning up. I usually clean my wheel head first and my splash guard. Now once those are out of the way, I start cleaning my tools off. And I'm just trying to get rid of any chunks and make sure it's like 99% clean. But obviously there's always going to be that fine layer of clay dust, which then I just kind of like rinse off or wipe off with a wet paper towel. Normally the dirty water bucket doesn't smell that bad. Like obviously it smells bad. And when you open it up and you sniff it, it smells gross. But it usually doesn't smell this strong. But right now, I can still smell it. And my boyfriend was across the room and he could smell it. The last and final step is to mop.